It is 7:06 p.m. I'm going to commence the meeting of the Architectural Review Board. Hello, this is the Darien Architectural Review Board. Today is Tuesday, July 18th, 2023. It is 7:06 p.m. I'm going to take a roll call of our different members that are here tonight. We've got Sean on a roll call. I'm going to announce the members that are here tonight. We have Sean Brown, Cheryl Green, myself, Elizabeth Geigers, Chairman, Anya Janis, David Humphrey, Vice Chair, and David Riley, who will be taking notes. The first item we have on our agenda tonight, and the only item, is new business. It's ARB number 31, 2023 for Bear Burger at Darien Commons. Welcome, guys. How this works, please just introduce yourself for the record and give us a brief overview of what you'd like to do.
Great.
Also, if we can get names.
Yes, I'm Clarissa Arnone, obviously with Onya Langen Architects.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Sure, it's A-R-N as in Nancy, O-N as in Nancy, E as in Echo.
Okay.
Samantha Goldman, also with Onya Langen Architects.
Great, sorry. So, did you find it where it is on the plan, or would you like?
Yep, we've got the plans, and we've got the ones you uploaded today with the, within the site. We appreciate you guys getting that to us.
Sure.
So we're familiar with it, but why don't you give us a quick overview of why you chose this design, this color, this location?
Yeah, sure. So as you can see, we're back with a different client, and they have a slightly different concept. The way that they're going to utilize their storefront, if you don't mind pulling that up, is going to be in a similar way as before. So we have a good amount of the storefront that's dedicated to letting light in and having some glass and then a nice metal finish. And then they've chosen a color that's a muted green that's part of their branding color. And we're going to have some very traditional looking gooseneck sconces at the front and then on the side as well. And wherever we will have necessity for a vent, we're going to match it so that it's subtle and it's cohesive with the rest of the facade. And we're going to have the logo above at the front, and then we'll have two blade signs which we'll submit separately but are still part of the concept of the storefronts, one on either side just for wayfinding. And there will also be a menu board which is going to be near the entrance and will match with the rest of the design, which you can see right there. So it's a pretty simple design, and we'll be using some of the brick that you've seen throughout the space, so it'll be cohesive with the rest of the space in terms of texture. But they've obviously added some personality through adding their branded color. But so far it's simple, and if you would like to go to the next page, we can see the layout that they have for their outdoor dining. And if we zoom out a little bit, we can see the furniture that's specified. So it's going to have a variety of either 4-seaters or 2-seaters, and they're going to be outlined by planters right there. So it will obviously give a bit of visual privacy between the street and the dining. And then we'll have umbrellas for each, and this will add a bit of texture, and the rest will be more simple furniture with black and white finishes. And then where needed, we're going to add some recycling and access to trash cans on either side, which will match the existing planter well at the center.
If you don't mind, I do have a question about the seating plan. Was
Sure.
that the seating plan that was approved for Tartinerie, or is it something slightly different from the permit?
This is slightly different only because Tartinerie had like a pergola.
Right, yeah.
And so this is slightly different, takes up the same square footage and boundaries,
Okay.
but different furniture and different concept and layout.
Right.
Julie, can you go with the front?
Yeah,
Introduce
of
yourself.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I know you like to hide in the back.
No, no problem.
Maybe you can sit up with the ladies for assistance.
I'm only here for support.
We might have some questions for you too, actually.
Yes, yes, yes.
The reason I did ask this is because as much as the top part. I mean, it's nice because it engages the pedestrian on the inner side of the restaurant. Typically, outdoor furnitures are going to be against the wall of the restaurant so that the clear path for the sidewalk is on the outside. By creating the planters along the edge, you're creating an obstacle from the parking spaces to the rest of the sidewalk. So that, to me, was something I wanted to bring up tonight. And I know this may be a bit of a permit review thing, but it's integral to what we're looking at, right? Because this is the part T of having the planters along the edges. And same on this side, you have less of an obstacle because of the planters being smaller and then these table of two. But you have an issue with the door that opens right into the path. This is an egress down at the bottom people are using from the rest of the service corridor. So they come this way, and this is used by a waiter. We've had an issue at Seymour's. So you have to kind of question that a little bit. So in other words, I've been looking at outdoor seating for the town. And as I said, most of the time the tables are against the windows of the storefront so that the path is definitely clear and allows people to get out of their car and get onto a sidewalk to then continue processing, which this doesn't do. This really creates an obstacle there at the top.
So that's actually not what is happening at Darien Commons at all. Things are more forced to, and Fred typically likes to force things to the curb because it's more interactive.
Right.
And
But do you have,
it keeps the
is
pet
there a
path.
systematic blocking of the entire length for places? So that means you kind of have to go all the way around.
Yeah, that,
If you're parking here, you go, okay, which way do I go? There or here?
as long as there's typically a way to get in, I'd have to look at, I mean, because Tartinery was similar to this, where
Okay.
the pergolas were very,
Right,
and that door
linear.
location is the same, like it was
Same.
very linear
Okay.
with that. And so it's similar in concept to that.
So I need to ask a quick location. The side tables, is that Edgerton?
Yes, Edgerton is.
Yeah, it's the west side there.
Okay, my compass was a little messed up.
Yeah.
Facing west.
Do you also have the exact color of the green and the black? Is it equal? What's the green color?
Oh, yes.
Proposing in
I
black?
had it written down. It's going to be,
Oh, it's in your narrative? I think.
It's page 1. Go back to where you were. It's the first page on here.
Yeah.
It's the top of that
The
page.
top one.
yeah.
Yeah, but I was having a hard time reading.
I don't think now.
Yeah, it's on a magnifying glass.
Thank you.
I don't know if that's a good question.
So
It's
matte
like
black
Equilibrium
finish,
78 or something like that.
and then exterior green paint, but it doesn't, yeah, Bare Equilibrium T1820.
20, yes.
It's called Equilibrium.
Equilibrium T1820.
That's the wall color?
Yes, that's the wall color. It's part of their branding.
And the black is it's metal?
It's a matte black metal finish.
I'll go first since everyone's kind of quiet and keep things moving. My feedback's pretty simple. I will say it's nice to see you guys again. You do a great job. I think Bear Burger will be a nice addition to this corner and this site. I really like the idea that it will bring in some placemaking at this corner. My concern is, let me actually get back to the concern. I like actually their guys' use of glass and like opening it up. I think that's great. I do appreciate the juxtaposition of like a more industrial feel and more contemporary. We call it contemporary, but more industrial alongside that traditional colonial second, third story. I'm not loving the colors. I understand why they chose the colors. I think there's a way to do this and bring in the color accents without losing the soft, subtle whiteness of our beachside town. So I would like to see another version of this that fits better in with what's above it, color-wise.
When you say colors, that's plural. Is there something besides the muted green?
I'd like to see something. Instead of the green, I'd like to see a white.
Okay.
And I'm open to other things. I just don't know if the green works there. I mean, it's kind of, we're doing blues, grays, whites along this whole division, and we did support a one-off color change for Warby Parker in blue, and it was in blue. And it worked because there's more blue tones in this structure. And furthermore, it was set within the shopping center. It wasn't a corner end piece. Not that I'm opposed to a color. I just don't know if this works and is really gonna capture people. I think it's gonna compete and, I don't know. And the other color too, I think black is a really neat choice, but I don't know if that, I don't wanna have you guys locked into that, like, whatever, I'm open to color options, but I would love to see another one. But the use of the architecture and the window openings, I mean, I'll let other guys comment on that.
Well, these windows don't exist, right?
No.
No. they
So
don't.
it's behind the OSB board that's there now, there's no facade.
Correct. This is all new storefront.
Do you have a picture of the other end of this building, by chance?
It's,
Sweet Green.
Sweet Green is at the other corner.
Well, I mean, I was looking at it, and I think my opinion on the front glass is, which may wrap the corner, but I think the front glass is 6 inches too short.
Let's see it again.
6 inches too short.
I was looking at when you look
Here?
across when you look across the sight lines here, except for Sweet Greens, but even then, I think they're pretty close.
Like up.
Well, I mean, if they match Sweet Greens.
Yes,
on
on the
You're trying to
left.
keep that same datum line
Well,
throughout?
it's the same all the way through, except for the center entrance where the residence is.
Yeah,
And the rest of them are all pretty much the same with the same spandrel piece, except for Sweet Greens. But if they match up Sweet Green, it doesn't look right to me.
It's jarring.
Sweet green.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the green on the paint, but I think the glass, there's two parts of the left side glass on the left side of the front, which is, one, I think it's too high off the floor, which means you have to look at your interior layout. And the second part is, I think it's too short.
So where the glass begins right now is aligned with part of their layout inside and the seating height. And in the way we have it drawn up, it visually, like, that portion still continues with the metal panel so that it allows for it to feel as more of a unified piece where the windows are. But we can obviously reach out to the client and see how they feel about matching the top height so that that feels more visually cohesive.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So wait, on the Edgewood side, that's all metal panel down below that glass? And it's right there.
Is this what you
Metal
were
panel.
talking about? That
No, yeah, no,
the
I think-
relationship between these two?
But then if you look at Sweet Green and it matches up the other end of the building, it might be all right. But I think part of the problem is that black piece on the bottom of the glass. I'm sort of thinking it should be a little lower and it should be brick.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it's not gonna be touching the sidewalk, have that as the same material coming below.
Right.
Because I think that's what they do at Sweet Green, is they continue the brick underneath the windows.
I kind of like that.
it's all
Doesn't
brick
matter.
at Sweet Green.
Sweet green is.
It's all
all
brick
brick.
at Sweet Green.
Yeah,
Sweet green.
yeah,
is-
but the brick continues under the windows too.
Sweet
We have
green
like a
is
brick
here.
sill.
There's
Yeah, so similar detailing.
Yeah, I mean, there's an example of it under a piece of glass right there. And there's Sweet
Yeah.
Greens on the glass.
The
You don't
problem-
have a picture of that one adjacent to the next piece.
The sweet green next to,
Well, because I mean, in that photo right there, it looks like the height of the Sweet Green window is very similar to the one adjacent to it, the next piece
Right.
over.
May I look at this? I think probably.
I'm not sure.
that may be
Exactly right.
in there, but
Yeah, I
I
don't know that.
don't think that was uploaded.
I think the one on the corner is just far too jarring.
So Sweet Green actually is correct here with, so they have single openings and then,
The space, that's where the mechanicals are.
yep, exactly, and then there's a corridor here, so
And
that
then-
line is not,
Not the same.
Not the same.
But these all run very similar across here, so
Yep.
I would, on a note here, this one should match this one, or it should match this one. But I
okay,
think there should be no black metal piece here, it should be brick.
okay.
And then the
think-
height, whatever the height of this is, the height of this should be, and then it should wrap the corner and be the same height.
Okay, I think that this and this are the same. I think. So I can get you
On
the
either-
elevations, or you did Sweet Green.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
So
we
you
matched
have
the
that,
height,
so
yeah.
match, I think you guys are matching that
I
same
think
height.
so, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
David, I'm having a tough time with that piece of glass. I mean, maybe they should take every other mullion out.
Like the number of mullions on it,
I mean, another thought would be to add
or
a
even.
transom piece that's still like
I think that should be,
1/7.
I think they should lower it, put brick on the bottom. I mean, again, it has to correspond with what's on the inside, but I think it's too tall.
Didn't we just say match the height of the one next door, but not
What,
include the transom?
so there's two discussions. One is the height of the window next door. Would it look the same, or is it too far away from Sweet Green, will it look better, a match? Or when you look at the piece in the front, like in total like this height and Sweet Greens can be the same, but the problem with this is it's too jarring against all the other glass. Whereas Sweet Greens has very wide open glass to me.
I don't mind if
Less
the
mullions.
glass is different, I think, because I like creating its own space. Like, not to
Okay.
contradict you, I think, but I think the green is what makes it jarring.
Maybe that and the black
I-
underneath it.
Maybe that,
The other piece of it, if I may jump in, is the blue on top. I think that's very
the trim of the
supportive,
building.
the trim above that.
That's base building, so that's there and existing.
So there's no,
It's there
we
already.
can't change that blue.
It's already there.
It's actually gray,
To match the
yeah.
trim above.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I find that very jarring in these pictures, maybe not in real life.
It's actually gray. That blue that blue line underneath
Uh-huh.
there that you're seeing is like a taping. It's like there's actually blue tape there.
Okay, that's not what I'm looking at, the whole thing looks blue to me.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's a cool gray,
Okay.
yeah.
And does that work well with the green? It doesn't, it's very jarring
I think
to
you
me.
need it though to balance the building, because
Yes.
you need the gray to match that,
Right.
the trim
I
on the
agree
top of
with-
the building, which you don't see
Right,
here.
right, I agree with that. I just,
Did you guys at all consider, like, the big thing for me was creating like its own space making at the end here? You guys are competing with, you guys, Bear Burger's competing with this other end, Seymour's, where Seymour's is, and Gregory's. It's a real moment they've created there. And I'm worried this back here, it feels like an afterthought. So I was wondering if you guys explored what you've explored architecturally, even if it's elements of like, even some like pediments coming out over there, something to create more like a hard space, you know what I mean? Like giving it more like
Like a
presence.
destination.
Like a destination and using
Intimate space.
architectural elements to
Yeah.
like bring out that building to create its, because I feel like you're using color to create that corner stand, and I feel like there could be way to maybe use architectural elements instead of color. Did you consider that?
Well, we had originally explored a different facade that had horizontal panels and then windows more like the ones you're describing, where we didn't have the metal panels on the bottom, and we still had awnings coming out. But in terms of other stronger architectural elements protruding or adding 3D, that hadn't been explored as much. I think they were trying to give it a more simple, classic feel on the outside, but we can obviously explore some options with them and see what feels right with their branding.
It feels
Yeah.
industrial.
And I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with a slightly industrial aspect to this, but I do agree that, yeah, that it needs to be more of an anchor on that corner, where Seymour's in particular
Anchor is what- yeah.
is an anchor for that other corner, and to a certain extent Sweet Greens, but not as much. That's kind of, carrying the facades across. But this is the stopping point of this building. So yeah, either additional canopies. I would actually even argue for actually more muntins. If you're going to go industrial, make it like smaller panes, like make it actually really an industrial, like kind of factory sort of window unit with the brick below. I think that would actually pull in a little bit of that history of mills and like Yale Town and Stanford, things like that have this kind of history kind of embedded into them, whereas this was like built up on from previous life.
I think they inspired themselves from the proportion of the glass of the windows above. The horizontal to vertical ratio seems to be pretty similar between the windows and storefront.
Right, and I think Dave's point, I like the idea of like, if you're gonna go with it, you just might as well break. Right now, it's like in this limbo. Is it more traditional, is it more industrial? Like, yours, like, either commit to the industrial look, is right? I
Yeah,
support, I don't,
that's
everything you said
kind
was
of where I would
beautiful.
go with it, and
Yeah.
you know, because Bear Burger, it's not as sophisticated as Seymour's, and it's not meant to be. It's Bear Burger. Let's go Bear Burger, and it's got this kind of industrial vibe to it. But at the same time, it has to have a little bit more presence.
Are we doing any sort of lift up garage
I was
door
just
type
thinking
thing
that,
would
looking
do
at
the
those.
inside-outside relationship when we have a big sidewalk like
It
that?
could opening
So
it out to
they-
the sidewalk.
They
could be-
cannot do that because they can't have,
Liquor
because of,
license outside?
no, it's health. They cannot close off their kitchen like the
Oh.
others can.
Right.
So they need an open concept. It was discussed already. We wanted them also to kind of keep that nano wall going and have it open, but they can't do it.
Oh,
So they've got to close stuff up. So they kept as wide of glass of architecture on the exterior to make their interior work.
Those old industrial windows though, they're on a system where like you open them and the whole window set, like I've seen those in the city in some buildings, where they all open up the windows together.
casements?
Yeah.
It's like a casement, yeah, but it's like on a system, like a pulley system
Right.
almost.
I think something that we can explore that, but it'll be important to keep the bottom elements. Those will have to be fixed and stay brick because of, obviously we were part of the conversations with Tartinnery, and making it open was very complicated and required a lot of compromises with the kitchen that they can't make. So if we explore opening it up more, it'll still have to have some type of base.
The industrial point too, sorry, I think I'm talking, Mr. Humphrey, you haven't talked at all. But the one thing, the awnings feel like, again, like they're in the in-between. Like I'd almost like to see a more industrial awning there too, like something more substantial, like, and I went back to what I was saying earlier, like maybe those window sets don't call for that. I just was throwing out ideas if you'd consider them, but maybe you just fill that, like that depth perception, that anchor element by creating a different awning over those door openings, if that's the case. And awning, you have a good idea.
Is the project proposed to like a marquee type thing with like a real pretty wide out, like a pretty wide out awning over the entrance, something that's kind of
Not at all.
substantial?
Not at all opposed to
I think
that.
that's to Liz's point, if it was something bigger,
Yeah.
it would kind of create the place and the attraction, because when you come in at the other end, you're at Sweet Green and you see this really big awning that could be interesting instead of the small,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, like
yes.
almost like a cinema marquee.
Yes,
thing,
yes.
just
To really
with-
draw, yeah.
With two, because you have enough height of wall for cables and stuff to kind of overhang something significant, just kind of hold it up.
I like that idea. I think you need to break more from, you have this clapboard colonial
Yeah, it's
top,
a little
and
flat.
if this was
It's kind of
brick, I think this would be a done deal, like very, brick on brick, like industrial, we're just leaning into it. So I think having more of that break with the colonial, so you read it as two different ways when you're looking at it. might be
I
the way
also,
to go.
having awnings, like I'm almost seeing this, V structure of metal holding on to these awnings that even go over the larger window sets.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you kind of anchor into the brick and it extends off to the end of the awning, so you're expressing this very industrial look.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of the smaller panel, the window panel. That's
Yeah,
an
that's
easy,
great, Dave.
your opening element can stay the same. Your mullions, just you have to change your window. And then having it all brick. So I'm almost thinking celebrate more of the awnings holding up the window, like have the whole thing, just a big black awning over the top with all of these very industrial V anchor hook structures.
It's gonna bring it right up to the window size. With the awning over the top, the height's gonna be the same as the window next door, which will probably match in really nice.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
And really cool.
I still
Yeah.
think we need to lose panels on the bottom and put brick in.
And then I would do that, I think, if you're gonna do more of that element up top with the awnings, get rid of the black
Yeah,
underneath, and
otherwise
just
it
have
looks-
that all just be black,
It's gonna be
just be
hidden
the
by
brick.
panels.
That's
Yeah,
something we had looked at also with the client, so that's something we could definitely look at again.
yeah.
Any possibility that window can get lowered, larger? Like
Larger, we have internal structures in a lot of these columns. So right here, there's a column behind it, and then they're going to have elements for checkout behind it. So we'd have to explore how that fits with the layout, but you would like them to be closer, like bigger?
No, where the black is on the bottom underneath the windows, can that
Still
be
have windows.
small, can that be short?
We
I
can
mean,
look into it.
over
There's,
finished floor,
More-
short,
there's
more
banquet
window.
seating.
more window.
More glazing.
Right, but we have banquet seating, so we'd
Yeah,
have to look
that's
into
like-
how that
Yeah,
fits
it's
into
like
it.
4 foot tall.
We would
Can
probably
you
have to
pick,
take
can you
out.
pick up 6 inches?
We can look into that.
And then turn the corner with the same height?
Pick up as much glazing as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, back to Dave's point on the industrial and the awnings on the top, I think if you can put more glass down, leave the glass height where it is and put the industrial awnings over the top, I think you're gonna catch, it's gonna look good.
It's not really cool.
And then get rid of the black panel, because then it's just gonna be too boxy and shut in
Exactly.
with black. So just do the
Brick.
brick all the way
Yeah.
throughout, that'll be clean.
Green brick.
Green.
Green brick,
Yeah.
yeah, or an alternate, for
Alternate
Liz to
color.
see an alternate color.
Show me an alternate, yes. I'm struggling.
But if this is part of their branding,
I understand that, I value that.
Yeah.
It's important, I understand. I mean, I think there's a way also to get creative with the green, but, I mean,
Yeah,
there's
like,
pretty cool
is there
green
more,
metals.
Like, can it be used in accent ways, you know? Is that, it's a branded color, like, that is their green color.
Is it really
But
their
the
green
awnings-
color? Because we looked at, Jeremy and I looked at the Bear Burgers, Stanford.
In
and
Stanford,
Has
so
a
it's-
lighter gray color.
Yeah, it's different, it's like all black, I know. I've seen other Bear Burgers, they haven't led with this strong of green before. So,
What if they had 2 colors, one on the Edgewood
It's
side
more-
and one, the
Yeah.
green on the parking lot side?
that could be neat, that could be neat. I also saw I've also seen colored standing seam before, which I think is really cool in industrial. Like, I don't know if that's even an option, but
For the
this is your,
exterior.
yeah, like if you're, instead of the black, if you're doing,
Right.
yeah, if you're doing the, green windows or green, like you could do, I mean, I'd be open to that. I don't know, but Mr. Humphrey said, like, propose the green brick again, that's great, but I don't know.
We'll look into options.
I think
so
you could be
that-
creative with it, it's neat.
I also think it'd help just to get a little shot of where the west elevation, I guess, meets the existing brick on the south elevation, just to double check that we got that connection okay.
Instead of just being a paint line.
Like up here. Like how does this work? David, is that what you're talking about here? This color?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
that will all be their facade. That return right there is a red brick right now, a base building red brick. But it could be painted. I mean, it's so little, it's a small amount over the mechanical door, but when you're painting whatever it is, you just paint it over.
And you have a
And the
corner.
back side of that building's gray, right? The Heights Road side of that building?
Heights, roads,
It butts up to the property
I
behind.
think it's gray, clapboard, or red brick. It might be red brick back there. It's so funny, you see these things all day long. and
Yeah, you
kind of
can-
I can't
forget.
remember.
Yeah,
What's this material right now? The white that we're seeing, or the,
oh, that's just, it's painted,
Oh, it's people.
yeah,
Just- okay.
it's just like plywood, it's
yeah,
plywood.
okay. So
Yeah.
there's no
It's-
glazing, nothing
No.
behind that, it's just, okay.
but Mr. Humphrey makes a great point, that corner, the western corner where it meets the southern, where you can't see, that is an important corner. And the idea of yours, like what you're gonna continue there, if it is green, going around the corner, that's gonna make a statement versus continuing that brick color that's already there.
Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna look at is, do you make a distinction at the actual corner, or do you have it return the way it is there? I mean, you have a
Yeah.
door, so I assume you can't move that door, so probably gonna figure out what the right break is. Is it there where the right now the plywood meets the brick, or does it come to the corner and it's green brick versus whatever's on the south elevation?
Yeah, that's smart.
I can take pictures back there and we can kind of study that, because I'm forgetting what's back there.
Yeah. It's kind of forgotten, right now it's a forgotten piece, 'cause it's the end, but I think it's gonna be important as people, it's gonna be one of the main entrances. I think it's gonna become the main entrance, 'cause I think most people are gonna try avoiding Heights Road and turning into this area, so this will be
Maybe.
their
Yeah, you're right.
introduction to Darien Commons.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very important. Can we talk about lighting? So actually, Hervé, stop right there. Those lights, those string lighting, I thought were being proposed for Tartinnery. Is that the case or no?
They were for Tartinnery because we had a pergola structure to hang them from. They're not doing a pergola structure for this, so they were a little bit difficult to incorporate because obviously they require hanging. So
Okay.
we were not including those
Okay,
as of right now.
okay. I thought those added to like an element of creating placemaking at the other end as well. I actually liked those. But maybe they're overdone, I don't know. It might be something to consider as you guys are like, I love the word anchor. Thank you, Dave, Mr. Riley, for finding that word for us.
I would love to see that stronger awning element and see how that plays, kind of
Plays
that
first, yeah.
cross structure, because,
And
I
especially
mean,
on
it
the
might
edge
be,
of the side.
yeah, it might be kind of fun to then tie off a couple of those string lights too and make this more marquee feel, you know, like
Yeah,
theatery, industrial, I don't know what words I'm looking for, but,
yeah,
you know, and then I
It's
think
more of a presence.
It's a
signage
transition to
will be
Palmer's
important
backside.
to play inside of that too, but we'll look at that later.
Yeah.
Because
But
I've already got some issues with your signage type, but we'll talk about that later.
Liz is right, Northwest Darien and New Canaan is going to use this as their way into the commons. That's just, I mean, I already see the way that when I drive to Naya, I'm skipping everything out
It's a
front.
more
and then
comfortable
I'm
entry.
whipping
Yeah,
around, yeah.
yeah.
So just consider.
So I do
Yeah,
have
that's
one last comment. This is a substantial size elevation in terms of length. And then right now, the treatment, the rendering we have is incomplete. It just shows a portion of it and in green. But within the industrial look and the fact that there are existing structural columns, have you looked at articulating it with some pilasters or something that gives it a little bit of depth instead of...
I think that gets into the architectural elements that were being discussed before.
Right, so I mean, you could, depending on how you decide to do it, but you could have some breaks in this that kind of work with the building above and then maybe works with the marquee because you have all these, it's a pretty big, it's a big wall.
you mean breaking it up with some vertical?
Yeah, some vertical elements that are pilasters or something that kind of recalls the art, slightly traditional, but a little bit industrial.
no, that's a good mix.
Depending on what happens.
And that way you can also introduce a break when you have, at the end of the building, something that changes. You kind of have your vertical that, so it's not just two corners, it's a pilaster at the corner. Like it could be a column expression here. Like at Seymour's. Seymour has like this, 2-foot, 3-foot wide corner
Yeah.
piece. I mean, this, I think it's interesting is this rendering makes the facade look a lot shorter or in terms of height than when you look at the picture of the context,
Yeah,
right?
it's much bigger.
I mean, it's tall. Where is it, like 16 feet up to this, the bottom of the cornice?
14.
14 to this and then another 2, right?
I'll make the glass bigger.
Huh?
Make the glass bigger.
The one solution.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, and as you're thinking, Hervé, you make a really good point about this wall being a long wall. So if you look at the proportion of that door, there's also the rendering you show, which there is it must be also a 14-foot expanse over there where it's kitchen or, it's back area. It's just a blank brick wall. And I wonder if there's a way to consider, without forgetting that wall, right? Because that is like a main site entrance. And it seems like a missed opportunity just to brick that whole side. And it doesn't look as, here, it doesn't seem, to her, you don't realize the expanse of what that wall is.
Is that the kitchen behind that?
It is, and we have restrooms right there, and then there'll be a kitchen, so that entire area is gonna be closed.
Just the
I think
corridor
maybe,
down to the restroom.
in this case, again, getting into more glass, like the doors and the flanking windows, that could all be combined into one piece. So you have like a large section of glass,
Oh.
some brick, and then glass, entry door glass, all, basically as a storefront.
So they
Or
would,
is there structure between the door and those two side lights?
I believe there is.
Yeah.
So you can't make those windows, you can't make
Like
those.
spandrel or something like that?
Yeah, we worked around all the columns in the space.
Okay.
We'll get Julie to move them.
It's gonna wait for that.
Well, does your seating plan call for that area? Like, what's up against the wall there then? Are you considering planters against that wall then? Because if you're sitting there, if I'm seated outside on that wall, then I feel pretty bummed to be in that last table.
Well, you
Right.
don't, yes, I see what you mean. We don't have seating all the way down, so it really ends towards the second, the last window.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go all the way, you wouldn't be sitting next to like a large.
Just-
So there's no seating and no articulation on the facade. That's like a double whammy then for me. That's even worse. I almost wish there had been seating all the way down there.
Well, here are the columns.
No, further down, like, so where the seating ends, now that's still
Towards the door.
space
the
all the way to that door.
door.
It's like 14 feet of
There's
space,
more. Yeah, there's
essentially,
more.
that's just unused and forgotten about on a really prime viewed street.
I think to the point that Irving just made is we can see the structural columns there, so that
Pretty
door and those flanking.
Yeah, door with the two side lights.
It
Yeah.
could be,
No problem.
they could be pulled together a little bit more.
It's part
I
of
see a
this.
wall coming in there.
Yeah.
It would have helped to have a little bit more context from the interior. I know we don't look at interiors, but seeing that relationship sometimes.
Not
helps.
your jurisdiction.
This is a nutty question, but on that side, do we have the Darien Commons entry sign?
No, we don't. Only at one place we have it. Only on Heights Road.
We might want to consider it on that one too.
Let's paint it on the 14 feet of the green wall.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Similar to the You Are Not Alone.
Do you have, quick question. You may have said this and I've forgotten it already, but is there any plans for planters? Could that wall, that space have planters, greenery softening that? Or do you have any plans for?
So Federal will probably, I don't know if you've walked around lately,
I
but
have
they
not.
have very large planters
Yeah,
set.
by
These guys.
Yeah, and I have, I can stress that to the landscaper of playing with some big pots, glazed pots over in that area too.
Could help that end.
Yeah,
It's become a walking place. I mean, I find myself going there parking, and my kids want me to move the car, but I'm like, oh, let's walk.
Yeah.
Um,
I still just think that you guys could, I would just, as architects, consider like some articulation on that facade without just walking away from it. And it doesn't have to be more glazing, more doors. This is your
It
expertise.
could even be articulating the brick. I mean, right now the brick is very flat, instead of like a plaster like Seymour's, which is, paneled and everything, a brick plaster with a brick base and a
Right.
brick capital. And that's commonly done on that more, industrial aesthetic.
That's cool. Well,
So
yeah,
just
so there's a
building-
lot of opportunity using the material.
love that. Thank you, Dave.
yeah, just building up layers of it,
Yeah.
like turning a soldier
Right.
course or something and just having something kind of go in, something more interesting.
Yeah, these
Yeah,
are, I
with-
mean, these are all great options to
with
explore, and we'll
visuals.
look into how we can, keeping in mind like the core principles of what we would like to see happen on both sides in terms of, it sounds like a lot of like play with depth.
Yeah.
Articulate some interest.
Yep, yep. And maybe that happens then at the bottom with the play of that instead, and then the awnings on
And
top.
finalize
So
the
you,
brick.
exactly,
Finalize
exactly.
the brick at the bottom, it's really pretty when
Yep.
you go around with the soldier course and
Short brick.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. That'll look really nice.
You leave it by 8 corners.
And then you could play with
I
glazing.
did a school like that in
I'm just
Montana.
kidding. No, don't do that. But now we're going crazy. But yeah, so in order, I mean, I know that costs are kind of huge when it starts to play, but maybe it's just underneath that happens, and then you do the metal awning up at the top structure, and you're not doing all of that facade, but accentuating the parts that you see, right?
Herb, can you put the awning picture, the side Edgewood side picture back up? No, the one with the green, if you don't mind,
The rendering?
the rendering.
There it is.
Yeah. So if you have tables, we're looking at this with no tables on the side. That's the western side of the building, which right now would still be quite nice outside and get good daylight outside. So then if you're sitting outside, what's the illumination for the tables at night?
They would have, we haven't discussed that specifically, they were still selecting it, but they would have specific lights for each table that they would be able to bring in and bring out when necessary. They wouldn't have something like Tartinary that's fixed. Again, because they don't have a
I was
structure.
just toying with the idea, if you do put awnings out over, and they're industrial awnings, why not put LEDs inside the awnings?
We could, I think, exploring a different awning obviously opens up
Kind of brings your table
possibility.
back to the window, doesn't it? I mean, if you had the lighting part of awnings, and then you bring all the tables closer to the building.
I mean, like under the awning, you have that, you could get that
New York.
rounded look
New York.
from the lights, soft glow off the top of the awnings that would cover most of
You
those
still have
things.
your planters, but just move them in.
Right.
It doesn't really bother me to have the tables away from the side. That's consistent, I think.
I
Yeah,
actually,
say
yeah,
that,
I kind of prefer that now.
I
that
like
see
them when there's room on that
differences.
big sidewalk, but on the other side, I still have an issue with the tightness.
Yeah,
Yeah, but the big sidewalk is more frequent, that has more circulation. The west sidewalk is more specifically for dining for that restaurant. The only reason you'd be going down that sidewalk is to get to a table, whereas the north sidewalk, which is the wider sidewalk, would be a circulation route for people going to the other shops.
Yeah.
The last thing with lighting, like I love the idea, how you guys proposed a gooseneck, I think to try to have the two, the top set of the building integrate better with what you're proposing, but I think to the original point that Mr. Riley said, like go industrial, pick a new option for wall lighting. It's full industrial, right?
As opposed to this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, if that, I don't know, but maybe that is a little, I've seen that in some places industrial, I don't know, maybe it is, sure.
That one, yeah, I think because, mainly
Flex.
because of the materials, it tends to be used interchangeably because it's versatile, but we can look into that.
Okay.
So are you guys okay with kind of pursuing, I know since August, right? You
No
guys
meeting in
are-
August,
no
next
meeting
meeting's
in
third week in
August.
September.
So with them sort of fine tuning this, kind of treating this the same way, like bifurcating it like we did for Seymour's in that same capacity of, because we're
Would
okay
it
with
continue
the
the internal
architecture of it, like the openings and the door locations and things like that. Are you okay?
Except for the point that they were making on that western wall, there might be more opportunity to put more window in there, as Sarah was showing, there might be,
But that's not gonna mess up their, like their
It's not?
interior kind of needs to keep
yeah.
as is.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
been approved, or if it hasn't been approved, it'll be
It's-
approved as a tenant fit up, so.
Yeah.
I will have two different permits.
But are you guys okay with them fine tuning this
Yes.
and
But
but still?
typically, the note I would put on
Letting
the
them
permit
go.
application for the interior will be, none of the work on the facade treatment
Yeah.
is approved under this permit. It's all gonna be, resubmitted as part of it. So it actually, to Julie's point, when you file for the drawings, make sure you don't put anything that has to do with the facade, just say, here, big bubble and.
So
Yeah,
show it the
otherwise,
file separately?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
inside, and hopefully you don't have any signage inside either. We had a couple of stores that had like bright things right behind the window.
Oh,
No, they don't, yeah. But so then we can kind of talk about that offline. If you need to leave it in your set, maybe just put a not for review or, file separately or whatever kind of thing on it.
And then we would need to separately do drawings just for the exterior and submit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You may be able to do both the exterior and the signage at the same time. There's not that much signage on this, so.
Right.
Yeah.
If you did as a set, like the exterior envelope set.
Right.
And when you said you meet on the third week of September, would it be a Tuesday as well?
Tuesday,
Okay.
yep. I think it might be the 18th as well.
I can give you guys that.
Okay.
It's on their site
Great.
calendar too.
We have, I think, one more comment here, Anya.
Oh, can we also see other options on the umbrella? I don't love the Astoria Lagoon, but maybe if you can bring in a sample. I think if we are pushing this more industrial, I don't think it's gonna work with that
Right.
vibe as much. I mean, I'm fine with the table and chairs, I think work, it's just the umbrella color is a little not my favorite.
Beachy.
It's a little too beachy looking.
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion for that too? They also do make metal umbrellas, which might be kind of interesting, fun.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Might be too much, but it's worth it.
It might be pushing it
Be
over the
considered.
edge. But something to look at that kind of gives it that
It's
same
on the end.
feel. And
We're
it's
going
not
full Metallica. I mean,
this.
just
It
dress
will
the
be a
part.
statement.
Yeah, it will be a statement.
You know, they look like an umbrella. They look like an umbrella, but they're metal, so that they have a structure. You know, they have a hard structure to
What do
them.
they
Yeah.
sound like during a heavy rainstorm?
They're actually pretty cool. They're pretty cool.
I
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
Are you gonna stand
Yeah,
under it?
exactly. Yeah.
Hold your finger up and see if you
What
can
about
find lightning.
But
happens with
they're
lightning?
powder coated in black, so they, I mean, they look like an umbrella.
Like an umbrella,
but they're-
yeah.
But they're stiff,
Cool.
so
I like
another
that.
option. to
Restaurant
look
will
at.
have to have lifeguard. As soon as there's lightning, all the customers outside
Go
go in.
On that corner, have you done a sun study at all, or looked at how the sun comes in there? Because you are on the north side of the building, I don't know, you know,
Have not done
like just to kind of see how the light hits and when on
Oh,
those,
You get full
tables.
western view on that one, because there's nothing.
There's nothing.
Nothing in the
Yeah.
way
no,
that,
yeah, they,
All right, never
it's,
mind.
yeah, yeah,
I think
it's
if it-
full,
those seats inside the window there are gonna be prime seats.
yeah.
Anything projecting out will help you with the sun in the afternoon on the western facade anyway. I mean, I'm actually surprised there's not like more sunshade louvers type thing in this idea of western sun is
Yeah.
gonna be, you know, it's exposed, so.
Okay.
I would assume on the interior you have rolling shades,
Yeah, probably.
Yes.
right?
Roll down shade to
Right.
be provided.
So our next meeting is September 19th, 7 PM. We can put you on the agenda now, so you can be first on there if you're
Yes.
ready.
That'd be great.
Bring
Thank you.
materials, please.
Okay.
That'd be great. That'd be helpful. And then, what else? I will put, this is a continuation, I will put all the feedback from tonight in our system, our viewpoint system, so you can read it there. I will put a letter.
Okay.
Sometimes we do a letter, it's not
Yeah.
necessary right now, it'll be much quicker.
Great.
And then if you want to kind of shoot some ideas as we go along here, I know 2 months is a long period of time, you are welcome to send something to Hervé, who can look it over informally with myself to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Oh, great. Thank you. That's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments? All right. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you guys all for coming in to happy summer, thank you guys.
That's right. All right.
So, just a quick question here, while Julie's still here. I mean, should we even consider if the entrance is really gonna switch on traffic? Because
Other signage?
I've done the same thing, where I've converted not going in from Heights anymore, going in from Edgewood.
And I think once Gregory's opens, it is going to be kind of a busy madhouse over there too.
Oh, people are gonna park on Heights and walk up the
Yeah,
stairs.
exactly. I'll talk to Patrick McMahon, that's actually a Patrick, but I'm sure he's kind of even thought about it too. So-
Yeah, we discussed why we only had a single entrance sign. We did discuss that last time, but it could be
It's
worth a
because
study.
it's always been predominantly off Heights. But now I think, I've even noticed when I'm driving from the other side.
Yeah. It could be worth a study to look at what's there. I don't know, it's not finished yet. That end, the western end of the development, I feel like has been unfinished.
It's getting close.
Yeah, so it might be, so now it's getting closer, it might be worth.
Yeah, so let me take some site photographs from different angles back there too, and then I'll have, we can circle back on it. But I'll go and study it out there.
Okay.
His location, that might be the weird thing.
Yeah, the location that might have not been
There's a
replaced.
green wall that can be painted on.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
On to other business, we have approvals, we need minute approval from our June meeting. All in favor of approving?
Okay?
Anyone opposed? All right, we're gonna skip over other business tonight, and I'm gonna adjourn the meeting at 7:55 PM. Thanks, guys.
That's a record.